Netherlands. We kindly thank you, Udo, for inviting her, and we really enjoyed the last 2 days. Anna was a very guest, and we appreciated also her thoughtful and really careful comments about the students' project. And yes, probably she will tell more about her own projects. So, please.
Yes. Well, before I start about my own projects, I want to also take the chance, because we're all together, to say I'm really happy that I had this chance, this question of let's come to Riga, and thank you this amazing faculty. Myself, I'm really inspired in finding a connection with the discussion before. And now my hope is really much bigger than on Wednesday when I came. And I organized this little lecture for students actually. And when I talk to students, I like very much to make it personal, because seeing photos of projects, you can also find them on the internet or in magazines. So I like very much to share with students a little bit of my way of seeing architecture, my personal way of working. And then I mean impersonal, but of course we work in a team. Architecture is really a group's activity. You cannot do it alone. But we must not forget that we are individuals carrying own passions and fascinations, and we are creative people. And it's really important to be able to talk about your own interests in architecture. So, I name my lecture Light, Form and Contrast because, the first one is a very important fascination I have, light. And, sorry, so I try to take profit of it in the work I do. And form, I'm very interested in form, but the reason I choose form is because I want to say that form is not something that you like or you don't like. Form is something that appears from a whole process, from a cocktail of ingredients, from the location, the user, and again, your own fascinations. And contrast is more like a tool I use. I use sometimes, I choose to create contrasts, to show certain things, to explain certain things in architecture. So, it's really an honor for me to share my little personal talk with you here today in Riga. While starting to build up the story, I select some photos intuitively, made a little collage because I want to say some introducing words about my work. And while doing this, I realized, hey, wait a second, they all concern interiors. So you might think, are you an interior architect? Well, what is that, interior architect? Because architecture is not interior or exterior, it's interior, exterior, physical, metaphysical, and everything in between. But I thought, let's keep it this way, because then I can say something about how I see it. And for me, to use the words of Alexander, that is not here anymore, it turns a lot being about scale. So this would be my first comment. Architecture, you need to do it by using every scale possible. And not by starting from one and then going to the other and then going to the other. But if you're designing, you should pay attention to all these scales at the same time, which is what makes three-dimensionality. Architecture is three-dimensional, it's not a plan. So in these photos you can see these fascinations I was telling you about, the light, the contrast between light and dark, the contrast between old and new, the contrast in materials inside the building. But also I like this one particularly because it's almost the smallest scale you can design, you can have as architect. This door handle. I'm very proud of it because I designed it myself. And this is not a chance you have every day, especially in the Netherlands. Because in the Netherlands, I know you like it very much. I like it too. I live there, but we are very much transforming ourselves into the land of the design and build. You know this concept, design and build? Well, again, to relate to the talk before, indeed, it's very much the role of the architect nowadays in Holland, unfortunately, just to design, to give an idea, sometimes even a very superficial idea, and then let's build. But the whole thing in between, sometimes it feels like they want to take this away from us. So this is, I would say, as an architect, you have a challenge, you have a fight, you want to do something in the world. And this is a little bit my fight, to keep the architecture pieces together. And so I constantly tell my students, please, do a door handle. Let's design a door handle. But let's design an urban situation. But let's think on all the skills together. It goes about the total. About my fascination for lights, and now being very personal, it probably comes from my childhood times. I was born in Portugal, in Porto. And, well, it's a photo I very much like, and it's a little bit dark, but otherwise I would tell you, well, say me, close your eyes, and everything what you will see is contrast between the dark and the light. And through this contrast, you will find form. Well, this was probably registered in my DNA. And sometimes we even don't know. Architects with 20, 30 years experience, you don't know, talk about your work. Well, it's difficult because you do it intuitively. And exactly by building up lectures for students, I end up realizing, hey, I was carrying this with me my whole life, probably. You know, I was fascinated by light. My father, who's a painter, painted it. He painted these contrasts. And not the detail, but simply this contrast between light, well, in this case color. And later, as a grown-up, I heard a very beautiful interview with a Dutch artist, Jan Diewet, who says, well, light itself you cannot see. What you see is what the light touch. And I thought, hey, I cannot design light. Of course not. But I can design something that filters light. And I can design definitely where light projects itself, the walls, the space. And this became kind of a mission for me. But also, I mean, not an educative mission, a personal mission. Because I'm talking about my personal fascination. And very soon, one of my first projects was very much carrying that. Well, it's a corridor of a house, this photo in a city called Dordrecht in Holland. And people were very introverted, they didn't want windows. So I thought, well, let's make it a personal experiment. Let's bring light inside. And, well, all at once, it slowly became like one of these Romanic churches. You know, they above the altar and above the door, they carry this round window, which projects a ray of light. And during the daylight, the day, this ray of light gets in very big and then reduces, the sun goes up, and then at the end of the day, it comes through the other window and points at the altar. So, well, intuitively, you know what time is it. So I thought, okay, let's make a clock in this project and bring the light inside. Well, about light. How do I work with light? First of all, I used to say, well, let's use it, because at least it's an ingredient which is for free. Yeah, in Holland, we're really alert to budget, and I say, well, it's free. You have it. And sometimes you don't have it, so let's see how can we create it. Well, this first project, it's a house in Iber, which is an extension of Amsterdam. Yesterday in the studio we talked about the difference between building in a context, in a city center for example, in a landscape, or building in extension. And in Holland extensions are very often, polar. It's just, there's no reference, just a line, just the horizon. So probably this is the moment where icon architecture starts to appear. We need to create some landmarks. We need to create some gezellig. You know this word in Dutch, gezellig means, well, happiness, colorful. And, well, this was a very beautiful moment.
Cozy.
Coziness, yeah. Well, this is probably, I don't know, but maybe you can ask Rem if this was his inspiration, because he did it well. But, well, this is an extension, suburb, let's say. But by the time we got commission, the neighbors were already there. And as you can see, this is just an example, but they were, all of them, making their best, showing, wow, here I am, here I am, here I am. Everybody, you know, were creating their... And I really thought, well, we can also make our best, but nobody's going to see the house, I think. And, well, we would like to show the house, so let's make exactly a manifest, well, let's make it blind. And so, and anonymous. It's now known as the house without windows. And how so do you get light in the house? Well, it sounds complex, but it was actually very simple. Because we just reduced the compact programs, the bathrooms, kitchens, everything with installations, to a central volume attached to the stairs. And the stairs are just attached to the facade. And, well, in theory, this could avoid daylight. And all the programs are just compact towards the sunny side. And the house is just 10 meters deep, so it's really, you know, like a post stamp. We call it a post stamp footprint in Holland. Very small, but enough. So what happened was very funny, is that the facade, the lively facade, was not the one in front, but became actually the one you see behind. So we have a closed facade, but behind it, it's like we push it back. And this facade inside, there you can see people living, so you understand life, but without exposing it somehow. So it's like a shop display. Sometimes you see someone coming, putting a vibe, like making a performance over there. It's interesting to see how light works here, because this is the north side, so it's very, very quiet, very soft. There's one of the little windows you can use to see, hey, who's ringing the bell. And as you climb up, for me, you get in the heart of the house. You get quiet, so you leave the rest behind. And it's a busy city. So the contrast between the light and the dark here is for me also the contrast between the public and the private, between the exposure and the more intimate. And if you follow it, you think, okay, I'm going into total darkness, but of course not, because there's light coming from the rooms, and then again you see this contrast. You see the light at the end of the corridor, like guiding you. Where do I have to go? And you go up, and we shape it. We cut sometimes parts of the staircase to allow again the falling of the light into the stair. And when you're on the third floor, it has 4 floors, you absolutely feel, okay, now I'm going to get surprised. I'm at the end of it, because the light is different. It's not this warm light anymore, but it becomes rather cold. See, wow, what am I going to get? And then you look up and, okay, I'm reaching it, I'm reaching the top. And so there's this very, very small perforation, just enough to light the inside facade, which is mirrored in a window. So this facade has windows, has doors, is inside window. But the most important of this is, well, let's not make it just because it's interesting, because it's challenging, not beautiful, but let's make it to really give response to the needs of this family. They wanted really an introvert house. So we studied the lights. We mainly sketch. Well, I sketch. This is my own personal method. And I really like to tell students, we spoke yesterday, I mean, we live totally in this moment of the media, these zines, the art dailies, and well, call 100 more. And every day in the morning when you're having breakfast, you're totally bombed with information, with images. Can you imagine being a student? I cannot imagine being a student having thin legs, I mean, being insecure, being all at once in a world which I don't know yet. And the teacher says this, and another says this, and another says this, and the information I get from all the media, I mean, which way am I going to go? Left, right, you know? It's very heavy, I think. So what is the only solution, I would say? Find your own way. Architecture is also finding your own way, your own interest, your own vision about the world. I mean, it's your responsibility, but also finding your own way to explore it, to present it, to talk about it. My way is sketching. We make lots of models, sketching, modeling, all scales, as I said, but this is very much personal. And I try to sketch, well, not the light, but how is it gonna reflect? So this was a drawing end of the afternoon, but I have like 20. Well, in the morning it will be this, in the midday it will be maybe vertical in summer. So I try to make like this clock of light, and then doing this, I decide that the opening of the roof could be really small, and not, for example, the total roof glass. Could have been a possibility. In the same way, I did to design the spaces. And what kind of windows? What kind of windows? For what is a window made? To look outside? Well, but some windows could be made to look outside, to get light. Others, for example, like a very small one, for ventilation. This one lays on the floor. They're big squares. If you want to ventilate, to open, well, it's difficult. You have to divide it in several parts. You have to create a protection. It's not the image you want. So it's really important to sketch and think, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want to see? And then, for example, I have a problem. I have here a very big window, cannot go open. Well, let's put a small one, and this one can open. Things like that. And sketch the light. This is the light at the end of the day. Is it a pleasant room? Yes, I love it. Well, it became like this. You can see in the morning or in the afternoon. All at once came a wall in between. Well, no problem. We were prepared for that. Also in the living room downstairs, where there's a kitchen and a seating area in front of a fireplace going through 2 floors. All these 3 windows have very different functions. The one laying on the floor allows you to go out. The one touching the fireplace creates a very comfortable, warm light reflection. And the one above designs a frame, like a painting, which you can see from the upper floor. So they're all different. There it is. Many people say, well, your projects are all white and empty. What's that? Well, there's 2 reasons actually. I think if you want to work with light, it's very important to understand that white reflects light. And if you want to see the contrast and shape, well, the color is very important. You also achieve the most amount of light, especially the floor is light. The second reason is because I do not believe anymore in the buildable, how to say, makbar, creatable city. For a long time in Holland we had this phrase, well, we make city, we make the city, makeable, creatable city. It's not like that anymore. Architects cannot make everything. We give infrastructure. But then the city, the life, we do it all. So my buildings are white inside because I don't want to take the room with the space, which is not my space, to fill it in with memories, with furniture, with the old closet of the grandma, with carpets. So if I'm choosing color myself, material myself, I'm taking these parts from the user. So I make them neutral. And of course with models. This house would never be possible without models. To tell you the truth, actually everything was designed in this one big model. Big because we like to put our heads inside and we see, oh, what do I see? Oh, it's exactly what I had in mind. And no, let's cut it and do it somewhere else. And so I was really excited to see that this institution, that's how you learn to work. It's not everywhere, I tell you. And so it's really very nice to see it. For example, this, we realized that we could absolutely close this inside facade and that we should use, for example, pivoted doors because they could be absorbed in the wall without frames and actually disappear and allow the light from the south side to penetrate until the north side. And this we saw in this model, we absolutely saw in these models. So for example, by designing these very doors, well, here, yeah, of course doors over there, but here you can see one. The door turns and disappears into this mass. It's not there. It has a very simple functional something, but, well, we want to see this light until the front side. So, for example, by making a model and understanding how space articulates with light, with function, you're detailing. This is the moment where we thought, oh, let's work with pivot doors, for example. So it's everything together, all the scales coming together to create a space which the user is dreaming of. And they were dreaming together with us. They were totally playing with the model, putting their own furniture on it, and that's how it should be. And of course, the back facade was designed with the model as well, and that was the result. It's actually a little happy face. It's Zelda. Well, the second project concerns the second aspect of my lecture, form. And this is a very important one. And if I would make the lecture now, after I got in contact with you, I probably would have chosen more projects which do not concern extensions, because this house is again in a suburban, in a reference-less extension area. So you might think, oh, okay, that's why you create a really kind of iconic form. Well, but I choose the project exactly to tell you it has nothing to do with the wish to make something exciting. But everything you see is absolutely based on the needs of the ones who live there, of location. Of course, it's a translation of rules, and it's also a translation of the fascinations of the architects and the users together. It's a big house for Dutch standards, almost 400 square meters, and so it's. I heard. Yes. But in Holland, it's really a big house. I heard yesterday Mountain talking about 2,000, 3,000. I've never designed a house like that. So, and the funny thing is, well, you know, Delirious New York, we place it in Delirious Leidse Rijn. Leidse Rijn is the biggest suburb of Holland, and it's all new. It's all built in the last 10 years, so this is something we can over there. And, well, it's just flat, and there's green, of course, and developers call people to live there, or call it, it's kind of Finnish now, I think, like saying, well, come and live in the green. But after all, they're going to build it full. There won't be green. There won't be green anymore. There's not going to be a little bee flying around. And, well, the reason why we call it Delirious Leidse Rijn, reacting on Cola's Delirious New York, Cola said, well, every kind of building with every kind of shape can live together and fall in love with each other. You know, I love this concept. And over here, they gave us a base form, a plot, a footprint, and all the houses needed to have this pitch roof, but further we could go wild. And this is what happened. They're all brick, they're all traditional, they all have very traditional roof lights, so they did not go so wild. And all at once we felt like we are going wild over here. Oh my God, is it going to be? Well, I hope she loves the neighbors and falls in love with one of them. So, because the house is really unique. Well, this was the base we got from the City Hall plot. There was a maximum footprint, heights, and there was a little, very nice question. You need to do something exciting on the front. Wow. So wow, people are really going crazy on this. All right, okay, let's see what the house needs. What is that? Something exciting. So we went to the location, of course, and well, something I also tell my students, because I've seen this before in my classes, people starting to make a design and having not been in the location. Yeah, I can see it in Google Maps and Google. Oh my God! And so please go to the location. You know, take your cup of coffee, a sandwich, sit there, draw it, sketch it, photograph it. You know, talk with people, look around, because the clue for design is there. You just can't see it maybe, but you will find it. The clue is very often in the location. Well, as I told you, my location was flat. There were no landmarks, no references, except that the house was fortunately situated in front of a grass field, a sports field, children, and the landmarks were the neighbors. There were lots of neighbors planning to come around us. So we thought, oh my God, is this living in the nature? So we thought, well, we're gonna try to make for these people a house from which they look to green. They were both very busy people. They wanted to come in a sort of feeling of holiday by coming home. So we very fast came to the idea, let's make a house with eyes. And so with these eyes, turning these eyes, you can avoid the neighbors. You can search, what do you want to look to? Maybe between the houses there's a piece of green that you can look to. But of course now I'm dealing with form. Now I'm talking about form, with the function. A function, a form that is really helping making a better house for these people. And about this sketch, very often in classes we talk, what is your concept? And concept, I think, is a very complex word. Sometimes a little bit a container word. Many things can be concept. But for me, concept is a dream. What is your dream? And so if I go with my students to the location, we walk, I start to ask, so what do you love about it? Do you love something about it? Well, I don't know yet. Do you have a dream for it? A dream. And very often they come then with photos, with references of projects they have seen and say, well, I like this very much. And then I agree with Udo, all right, very good. Good search. What do you like exactly? What is your dream? What is your dream? Are you going to copy this? Okay, I will help you. But can you make something out of you? Do you have a dream for the location? This was my dream, my starting point. And by having, in the beginning of the phase of the project, a little dream, it doesn't matter what it is, maybe for you it's very stupid and you're afraid to show it to your teacher because he has lots of experience and you're just starting. But please don't be afraid. Make a little sketch. I've seen sketches as insecure as this big, but beautiful because, okay, I know what you want, so I'm going to help you to get it. And so a dream helps you in the process, guides you. The most important is to know what do you want to reach, and then how you want to reach it. Well, we'll help you with that. You will learn your whole life, not just 4 years. So our dream was the house with the eyes. And of course, we start immediately modeling it. Because the first question was, yeah, but what are these eyes? Can they have a function? And to look, to search for this green, are we making something possible? Can we build it? Are we making something that fits in the budget? How are we going to detail these eyes? Can we give them specific roles, like ventilation on top, like a view through 2 houses? So we made several models, and with millions of little eyes, we constantly pin them off, cut the photograph, put your head inside, and this is how we... So we test constantly 3-dimensional. We create 3-dimensional, and we test 2-dimensionally. This is for me the role of drawings. I mean, we cannot project without drawings, but the drawings are like a summary of things we create in our heads, and 3-dimensional, in architecture is 3-dimensional. Okay, a little bit about the program. Well, very important is that you see it's a very compact house, and the entrance is angled. But why is this? Because it search for a view line between two houses. For example, such a decision, well, this you could reach by the plan, but you don't know what it delivers according to space. Is it a nice space? Does it look good? So you need to test it in the moment. We designed a little apartment for children, and this big space is actually the biggest eye of the house. Is the meeting point between the children on the ground floor and the parents on the upper floor. And then coming from the hall, you immediately look to the outside, truly towards the green, and then you see the stair inviting you to go up to the parents' apartment, which is very compact, full of little eyes. For example, this one, like, cut it off, again offering the view between the houses, and the one at the end of the routing over there. So when you climb up, you again look outside. So in fact, you're constantly in contact with your surrounding, with the green. And here you can see, well, it's actually a very compact house, and then this one is really the kind of extension of it, this very big eye. And in between those, I might say this, and that's functionality. So between the functions, the open meeting point, we create here a central structure, like a very big, gigantic closet where everything is inside. Kitchens, showers, all kinds of installations. And then you say, hey, that's a nice chimney you have over there. Well, it's not just to create a kind of, metaphysical image of a house. The chimney is a real chimney, because just under it there's also fireplace and all installations, ventilation and everything. It's really truly contained in the chimney. So it has a function, it has gained a function, a logical one. And once again, my question is constantly during the design process, what do I want to see? What do I want to see? So I sketch. And this is one of the first sketches where, well, I put all the eyes, and two things called my attention in this very intuitive sketch. One of it, I did not color the entrance in black. I left it white. Oh, that's probably good, because that should be a contrast between material. You know the story I told you yesterday, the red apple. When you bite a red apple, and then inside it's yellow. And so let's bite the entrance, so to make it visible. So one little conclusion I took from sketch. And the second one is very much challenging, is, well, with so much complex forms, we need to find one material that is able to clad everything, facades and roof and all the eyes. I mean, so the original idea to create a really nice brick house with roof tiles and using traditional materials is totally, it's not possible. You need to find a material that is able to cover everything. So after a big research, we went for wood. And so wood was not chosen because, let's make a wooden house, because it was truly the possible material inside the budget and sustainable to cover this form that we wanted. And once coming inside, what do I want to see? Well, I want to see the green at the end. So the walls are really guiding me towards it. And the door at the end is really framing this end, this green, this garden. And once I go through it, I'm in the green. I'm really there. So I'm not looking to kitchen or anything. I'm just again outside. And by this we are trying to offer our client this holiday feeling, this, in the summer, coming home and not looking to the television, but immediately, hey, I'm seeing my garden and feeling the grass, and it's a bit of fresh feeling. But if you look back, by being in the living room, you see a wooden wall again and a stair. And we thought, well, you need to be invited to go upstairs, like following a routing to discover again a very beautiful surprise. And by designing this stair, I think I was a bit trying to recreate like a middle-age a very tiny, small alley. Exactly the ones that we have in Porto. In Porto, sometimes instead of streets, we have very tiny alleys with stairs, because the city is really on a slope. And, all the windows looking at us while we climb, and we see the sky above, really, cut it off. And this was very much my fascination by designing this routing. Climbing, until you get your prize, which is the view. And you totally believe you're in nature while you're really next to the city of Utrecht. But what about the outside? And this big eye, frameless. There's no frame, there's just the green over there. There's just the light. Well, this was, of course, challenging, and that's the moment when you're going to use technique, and especially not, there's possibility 1, possibility 2, but let's always think on possibility 3. That's how I like it. So very often you say, we have this controlled budget, and the rules are, so we can only do it. No, let's always think on plan number 3, because if we don't, we would still be in the Vitruvius time probably. I don't know. So by thinking about new solutions, and sketching them a lot, and modeling them a lot, and in the case of a real project, talking a lot with the contractor and making people feel interest in our project, and that's how we did it. You can see the very big eye of the kitchen. It changed constantly with the daylight because the light reflects different in the glass surfaces. You can see very well the solution for this living room, and so the very big glass surface is undivided, but the ventilation is done by the little upper ones, so they go open electronically. When it's too warm, the heat can go out. When you need fresh air, you can get fresh air, so that was our solution for this problem. And when you get through the white entrance, you see the wooden wall, and you might think, why is it a wooden wall? Because you're inside the house. But we thought, no, the entrance, that is inside the house. But when I close the door, I'm again outside. This is the feeling we want to communicate, that you're again in the garden. So then this becomes the facade of the house. And when you go further and you climb up, then you probably go inside again. But first, that's the entrance, light. And then when you climb up and you follow the light, it's very little light projection on top, very small. And then you start seeing it again. You start seeing, I'm going to get in contact with the surrounding, with the green. The light is very intensive. And if you're in the living room and you look back, then you're again invited to the little street. So that's funny, because you see, in designing a house, you're also dealing with urban concepts. A house also has little streets, little squares where people come together. And so this is a little square upstairs, but downstairs there's a very big one, like an agora where small children and parents meet. And going together, going back, you're really in the street. And if you open the door, inside is again white because you go inside. Now you are outside. And in the evening you see the lights in the little street, in the windows, which are the bathrooms and the toilets and the closets. But if you put the lights on, then they know, hey, my parents are at home, the light is on. And then you go through, and you get in their sleeping room, and from there, again, they can see the light, of course, but the green. And again, the scales come together because the situation is very present here. The form is really designed to expose the green. And then we see a closet, and this white closet is the central spine of the building. Here is really just a closet, but it contains artificial light. And so when the daylight reduces, the artificial light slowly appears and comes from another side, exactly like in a normal daylight system. And that's the little opening on the facades. And well, they're pretty much in love by now. Here's a photo of during the construction with all the little eyes looking, spotting the beautiful house, the White House. Very traditional house, but they're really well an ensemble together right now. Well, and my third project goes mainly about contrast. But I think you can see that in other projects we deal with light in different ways, and in other projects we work with form, and contrast in this case concerns a contrast between old and new, the existing, what is there, and in this case a building, and what we need to introduce in the building to give it a second life. This is the story about a water reservoir in the city of Delft. It's a building from the 19th century. It's 26 meters high. The whole body of the tower, well, it has just one objective. It's to keep the water really high, so in case of necessity, they could use this water. And by coming down with speed, it would spread faster towards the pumps, and so it's a very functional building. And it's a building where nothing, well, except the decoration perhaps, is overreacting. I mean, everything is very functional. And it was designed for one person. So it's a very high building, but it was really designed just for one person. And this person that came perhaps daily or weekly, I don't know, through one of the doors. There's 3 openings and one door here. And he climbed through a very tiny wooden stair all the way up. He inspects the water tubes, and then he arrives in a very funny low space. It's a space under the reservoir, and he controls the metal, the steel of the reservoir. Well, it's still okay. And then he went through one of these very tiny windows, which you barely can see, and then he walked around the walls of the reservoir through this space in between the brick and the steel walls, until he arrived over here on top, and he could look, well, is there water still? Or he could, from this space, take a spiral stair and reach the roof to inspect. So it was really a function. And, well, nowadays, fortunately, I'm really happy about it, we have in hands more and more and more renovation commissions. Well, I've seen yesterday the designs of you for this building and how to deal with it. So this is one of the characteristics of renovation. The building, the body where you want to put one function, it was probably made for another one, and for a different amount of people, different groups. So our commission was to design a meditation center. It's very funny because Alexander just said, well, after the war there were no more spiritual buildings, but there are, only probably they're not called churches. And this is a meditation center, which is really probably a very important philosophy nowadays. Very beautiful, this building. When you came in, you saw the floor and the walls were made of brick, and you saw the 3 water tubes. And on top of it, like at 10 meters high, in the 20s, they had created a concrete floor. And this concrete floor, as you see the structure, very beautiful, it became part of the monument, so we could not touch it. We didn't touch it, we liked it very much. But so that means that the tower was not visible, the whole body was not visible until 20 meters. It was divided in 2. And by going up, the second part of the body was this very beautiful, really massive brick structure, very deep size of the windows, and an amazing ceiling, steel structure. And this was the room under the reservoir, where you really see this steel container, this heaviness laying on the brick walls. the very tiny windows from which you would reach a stair and climb around the reservoir. And there it is. Empty, of course. I mean, the water was gone by the time we started designing the meditation center. The program to be exploitable, such a small footprint, was big. The program was big. We needed to create at least 3 rooms. We need to make 2 meditation rooms. On the ground floor, they wanted a water shop, someone selling different types of water. And on the reservoir, they wanted like a cafe, to sell coffee in the weekends and to bring people of Delft to see the building. So we thought, oh my God, how many people do you want to have in the building at the same time? 60. Wow, 60. It was designed for 1. There is a very tiny wooden stair. What about fire? So we went to the city, okay, we need to have a stair outside. No, that's not possible. Everything has to be inside. All right, what do we do? Well, the first step for us was, let's see what we have. Let's see what is the essence of this existing building. Well, very simple. 1, 2, 3 layers, a reservoir, steel and brick. Sorry?
No, the camera doesn't show.
No, yeah.
Just let you know.
Yeah. The photo is a little bit dark as well. So these floors, the existing concrete floor and brick floor, steel and brick. This was the essence. So everything was not important in this story, we just removed. Everything was added later. And then we start trying, and this is the moment you need to work with scale, with plan. We designed a staircase inside the building on the ground floor that would respect the fire regulation. So the length, the height, the width. And on the ground floor, it still kind of fit. But then rather quick we realized on the first floor, because the walls were becoming smaller and smaller, that the staircase didn't fit anymore. So we could only put the stair with this form on the ground floor. So how do we solve the problem up there? And all the functions we had to create. I mean, the stair cannot be the program. So, well, that's when form really helps you to solve this challenge. We thought, well, we're going to create a big piece of furniture and introduce this piece of furniture in the body, in the essential body of the tower. And on the ground floor, it has an orthogonal form with some windows. So when you climb on it, through the windows you still can see and experience the feeling of the round tower of the old monument. But when you go up, and over there in the in-between body we should have meditation rooms, the stair needed to become round to leave as much space possible for the meditation. And the question was, well, you can't make windows because people are meditating. So how do you see the tower? Well, you don't see, but you feel because it's round. So you know you're climbing and you know you're in a round tower. And so we introduced a new floor, this over there, where it's a very small plan, where maybe 10 people can meditate. Over here it was the water shop, so when you come in, you're immediately confronted with the orthogonal form. And this is the moment where we made a choice. We could have said, well, we make it round as well. But no, when you get in the monument, we reached the contrast between the old and the new. And the old was round, and it was tactile, it was brick. And the new became orthogonal and soft and wide. Not to call attention to itself, but to expose the old. This was the idea. And then on the reservoir, we create again a flat floor, of course, and we broke some of the windows of the steel container to allow a light inside. And the red line, what you see, is all kinds of installations through the existing elements or the new elements to avoid looking at it. So when you're designing, for example, a new space over here, installations is something you always have to deal with. If you design it and the installations come at the end, you might think, well, I destroyed my project. But if you think on the presence of installations in the beginning of the design, you are integrating everything. Yeah? So this is really important. Okay, so when you come in, you feel very much the contrast. And we did not illuminate this white monster. No, it illuminates the walls behind us. And the whole space is just enlightened by the light that comes from these windows. So you go up, this entrance connects immediately with one of the existing windows, so in case of fire you can escape from there. In this way. So it really gets very small, you know, to respect just the limits of the window and help you drop out. And when you start climbing it, from the first window you immediately see the round tower. So you can't touch it, but you can see it very well. And when you go even higher, you really almost can't touch it because the glass is really against it. But then all at once you walk through the meditation rooms and you don't see it anymore. You feel it by the form. You come in the first room and you really see this big sculpture, well, very functional. And then we had this challenge, how to show what is old and what is new, how to create distance. Of course, well, I told you it's about material and form, they're different. But we use light as well to make this distance even stronger by introducing light in rings of light all the way behind the piece of furniture. So from behind this bench, there's light. But the bench is also ventilation, electricity, data, water, everything. So it's a very functional piece of furniture. That's another view. Very complex was how do you link this stair with this bench? So then you might think, well, it's very difficult, let's cut them apart. But you can also say, well, let's blend them and see what happens. And this is what happened. But you can lie against the stair. You know? Meditating. And then you, while climbing, you arrive here and you understand you're almost there. Okay, you climb 20 meters. And behind that wall there's some sanitary installations. And the form of it, again, invests in the contrast. We didn't want something round. We just placed a wall. And we use the wall to introduce light and project against the water reservoir. And in the reservoir, there was a big challenge for us. Okay, we want to make it white because of light reflection. But we thought, well, white is the color of new, and the still reservoir is old. So sometimes you have to create your rule and then, you know, to create the exception and then break it. This is actually very important. And so we thought, well, let's make this ring of light in the ground. So like signaling, okay, you're touching the new, but the wall was there before. And again, you see in the morning the light coming from one side, and then in the evening it comes from the other side. And you can rent it for parties. Mm-hmm. Well, I think I'm out of my time. I don't know. I have another project, but we'll leave it for another time. Because I think I talk more than the limits. Dina? Yes. Dina says yes. I have to stop. Thank you very much.